JJ McCarthy going to be out for the season, the rookie quarterback from the Minnesota Vikings. Matthew Judon has been traded from the New England Patriots to the Atlanta Falcons for a third-round pick. Let's start with JJ McCarthy, Sam. We broke down his performance on Monday. Really impressive debut for the first rounder, and very disappointing now that we're not going to be able to see him at all this season.
Yeah, a real bummer. I mean, we were talking about his encouraging preseason performance, even with that interception to Jack Jones from the Raiders. He looked good. He looked controlled in the pocket. Somebody on Twitter, on X, was making the point of, well, he only looked good, against the Raiders' backup defensive backs. And, there's some truth to that, but a lot of what we were talking about was how comfortable in the pocket he was looking, his movement within the pocket, his ability to sort of work through the offense and adjust. And as much as he was going against backup defensive backs, he was also working with the second string offense, both in terms of receivers and offensive line. So, and again, it's preseason, right? It's an encouraging debut, which isn't to say he's amazing, he's here, the next Patrick Mahomes is in the building. It was an encouraging start, and we were saying, maybe he'll be ready sooner rather than later to take that starting job from Sam Darnold. And in the space of 24 hours or whatever it was, it's like, actually, JJ's experiencing some sore knee issues. They're gonna check him out. They checked him out. He's gonna have a scope just to see what the deal is. And then the scope was like, this is either a 4-week injury or a 4-month injury, and it was the latter. They've elected for a complete surgical repair of his meniscus, which is not to say necessarily that the injury was worse than they thought it was, but it's just that's the best way to completely fix it. But it does mean that it shuts him down for his rookie season, and the first we'll see him is year 2.
As a son of doctors, did that result surprise you, Sam?
No, because I had heard previously that it was a sort of either-or situation. They were going to go in there, see what they were dealing with, and then depending on what they choose to do in terms of fixing it, that's the timeline, right? It was either going to be this sort of quick fix, effectively, which would get him ready for the start of the season or a little bit beyond, or it would be, no, let's fix this properly, but that does mean shutting him down for the year.
Man, a tough blow for the Vikings, right? They were trying to turn the page, get onto the next point, next part of, where the organization wanted to go, moving on from Kirk Cousins. It was a bit of a transition year because I think, we don't know when we would have seen JJ McCarthy on the field. But it's year 3 of Kevin O'Connell and year 3 of Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the regime that's come in to turn things around. And now, it doesn't mean that JJ McCarthy would have been better than Sam Darnold this year. I don't know what would have happened there, but it just, hurts his development most likely, right? By sitting and having to rehab.
Right.
The entire season. So it just kind of pushes things back a year, I think, as you're the Vikings and trying to get the whole organization back on track, in addition to everything else that's happened to them throughout the offseason.
Yeah, I think it's just a shame for everybody. Whether or not he was going to start day one, he was going to be a big part of this team this season. He wasn't going to last very long on the bench. And instead, we're just not going to see him at all until next year. So it's a real shame for the Vikings. But it does now mean that we're going to get you should love this, right? Other than poor guy's injured his knee and he's going to get recovered. But this is like Steve Catnip. We're going to get Sam Darnold data points for a whole year.
Yes.
We're going to get a whole year of them.
That whole joke started with Nick Foles, right? Because Nick Foles had 2 of the biggest outlier data points, winning the Super Bowl in that 2-game stretch that was out of this world, the 2013 season where he had 27 touchdowns, 2 picks, and was great. And everything other than that was like, oh, he got hurt, or he didn't get to start, or I was like, I just wanted more Nick Foles data points. And we have Sam Darnold data points. You're right. Because, look, there's a lot of people online, friends of the show, Mina Kimes or Nate Tice, who have...
There's a hive.
There is a Sam Darnold hive. Absolutely. And I think we've been pretty honest about it. Look, he's had stretches of play, 3 to 5 game samples that have been intriguing, but hasn't really been consistent beyond that. And I liked Sam Darnold coming out of college. I thought he had a lot of traits that would translate to the NFL. It just has not been there in any kind of consistent fashion during his career.
It was interesting, actually. The last few days has sort of opened my eyes to how prevalent this Sam Darnold hive actually is amongst the sort of football watching community. I thought, maybe there was a couple of people here or there, But actually, I mean, Mina, I believe in her show, talked about it as like a sleeper cell. The sleeper cell has been activated, and all these guys are coming out of the woodwork, and there's actually millions of them. You look, Sam Darnold stands are now everywhere. I had no idea that they were so widespread and out there.
Well, the good news is they'll either be proven right or this thing will be put to bed because look, Minnesota is still in a decent spot. I don't know how Jordan Addison, was injured at practice yesterday. I don't know how serious that is, but you're still looking at a team that has a solid offensive line. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson will be back at some point. Good group of playmakers. Aaron Jones in the backfield, probably upgrading their run game for the first time in a couple of years here. So they have all the pieces around Sam Darnold, and we do have this world that's been fun to watch the last couple of years of Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield and some of these former high draft picks coming good later in their career. And I know that doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but that part will at least be fun to watch. Sam Darnold, data points. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, so the one sort of thing, it is fair to say that Sam Darnold has generally not had a particularly good situation to work with, right? In terms of coaching, generally in terms of supporting cast. Like it's not all been sunshine and roses for Sam Darnold in the NFL in terms of the situation that's been around him. So from that perspective, this probably is the best situation that he's had to work with. Kevin O'Connell is obviously a very good coach. The system is a very good system. It is, one of the Sean McVay, Shanahan offshoot branches. And assuming Jordan Addison is there for most of the year, if Hawkinson comes back, there's a few ifs and question marks with that offensive personnel, but generally speaking, that should be a very good group of offensive personnel. So if you are, a Sam Darnold sleeper agent, you would be saying, look, he's never had it this good, right? This is the time we get to see it. But it does mean that if we don't see it this year, it's probably not there.